Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Search for Common Ground class here at Common Ground on the Hill in our virtual week. And I'm very happy to have with me today Lea Gilmore.
Hey, how are you doing? I'm so thrilled to be here.
Well, we're thrilled to have you back. And it's been a while, but you've
hmm
been very busy.
Oh my God. Is that not the understatement of the year? Yeah,
Right.
I've been busy, but now I feel like I'm going back home where it all started.
Good. Well, I thought that I could start off by letting people know about the award and its history. It's the Robert H. Chambers Award for Excellence in the Traditional Arts.
hmm
And among others, let's see who's received this award in the past. We have Doc Watson, Pete and Toshi Seeger, Odetta, Etta Baker, Roger McGuinn, Ramblin' Jack Elliott, Joe Hickerson from the Library of Congress, Richie Havens, Gene Ritchie, Guy and Candy Carawan from the Civil Rights Movement, Tom Paxton, Ralph Stanley, Hazel Dickens, one of the great singers,
I remember her. Yes, I know.
Mike Seeger, Buckwheat Zydeco, Jesse McReynolds, John Hammond, Mike Baytop and the Archie Edwards Blues Foundation, Hot Tuna, Professor Louis, Jose Feliciano, Guy Davis, the Kruger brothers, Tim O'Brien, Shelley Enzer, Tony Ellis, Sparky and Rhonda Rucker, Mark Mar- Mike Marshall and Katerina Lichtenberg, and Tom Chapin. And now,
I know. It's like Leah,
Gilmore.
Leah who? I mean, that is such an illustrious group to be a part of. I mean, really, I'm still pinching myself. I
Well,
can't believe it.
you absolutely belong there, Lea, for the work that you've done for many years now. And I'm going to say probably your journey of creating common ground started as a girl in school.
It did. It really did. And my actual journey started in Mercy High School many years ago. The nuns were very influential upon my journey. But I really got the confidence to just break out and do things by coming to the first year of Common Ground as a student. It was life changing, really.
Well,
So
and
really, I always tell everyone my musical life started at Common Ground.
well, that's very kind of you. However, I know that you were doing a lot of music before then, and the way that you connected was I ran an ad in a blues digest and blues newsletter about Common Ground and the blues. Next thing I know, I get a phone call from the deputy director of the ACLU in Baltimore, and she says, "Let's have lunch."
Yeah, that's
So I came into Baltimore and we had lunch, and you were smitten by the blues at that point in time. That had been happening for a while, right?
yeah, I'm still smitten.
Yeah,
30 years later, I'm still loving it.
yeah. Well, and you got the concept from the get-go about what we were trying to do.
I couldn't believe it. It was exactly what I was looking for. I didn't think it existed. I wanted and needed to be a part of it. Plus, I liked you so much immediately. I was like, who is this Walt dude?
Who's that guy? I fooled a lot of people. Um,
Oh, honey, I'm good at it.
well, I just remember that day as being really, we had chicken salad. That's what we
Yeah.
had. We did. And, but it was just a wonderful meeting. And here I was in the environs of the ACLU, where truth and justice are part and parcel,
Yes.
with the work that's done there. And I was with the person who's the deputy director, and we know how that works. The deputies are the ones that make it all work, like Maria Wong.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, I did adore her. That the great universe somehow conspired so Maria and I could be in the same place at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm just thankful. I have a very blessed life. A difficult sometimes life, but a very blessed one.
Well, it's an amazing chain of people who who have connected through Common Ground on the Hill.
hmm
And Let's talk just briefly about what you were doing musically beforehand. As I understand, you grew up in the church,
I sure did.
grew up singing, and somehow you ended up at Morgan,
I sure did.
soloist in that amazing choir.
Yeah, not the main soloist, but I was one of the soloists.
Right.
And I actually went to Morgan and I studied classical, and I became a classical singer for a while. And I had to retrain myself to sing my music, my indigenous music. And once I fell upon the blues, I never looked back. I
Yeah.
found my place. And
Yeah.
gospel, by the way.
Right. Well, I remember, and you were doing show music as well.
Yes, I
Right.
did a lot. I did Ain't Misbehaving, Dream Girls, Pearly. Name the black musical. I've been in it. Yes.
Yeah, I remember going to the one about who was there was a musical about one of the great singers. I'm forgetting who it was. But
Bessie Smith, maybe?
no, maybe Sarah Vaughan. Did you do Sarah Vaughan?
I could have. I
Anyway,
don't know. I'm
I
old,
went.
Walt. I'm old, honey.
Well, this was 30 years ago.
Mm.
Um, and then so the blues happened. That so how did you stumble into the blues, or how did that happen for you?
It was really interesting because I did grow up in the church and I had heard blues. My father played it in the basement, Lionel Hampton and all those people that were doing the blues. And I thought, oh my God, would he stop playing that slave music? Really,
Oh,
it was awful. I just hated it. But then I got cast in Ain't Misbehaving
hmm,
and I had to start doing some research. And when I stumbled upon the research, I went, "Oh my God, I love this music, and particularly love the simplicity and the grandiosity." I just made that word up. I don't know if it was real of the 12-bar blues, and so I've never looked back. Once I caught on hand to Muddy Waters and Bessie Smith and all of the greats, Dinah Washington, I never stopped.
yeah, it's the real narrative.
Yes, it is the foundation of the American experience, not just the African American experience, but our experience in America. We sang our blues. We didn't just live them. Blues like spirituals is a very practical form of music. It kept us going. You know,
Right.
it's something very weird about singing about sadness, making you feel better.
Hmm.
You
It
know.
is, and as we know, it happens. Um, I think as people come up out of bondage,
Yes.
whether it be the true bondage of slavery or the indentured servitude of the people who escaped to Appalachia, and that old music wants to be shed sometimes.
Yes.
We want to be shed of that because of the pain and because of the reminders of where that all that existed. Um,
That's right.
but but once you've had that epiphany of like, oh, this is the narrative, this is the real thing. Um, it's one of the real things. Of course, blues exists alongside jazz,
Yeah,
and
it's different music, but
right,
it is the
right,
same people
right,
being extremely creative,
yeah, yeah,
and all of that, blues and country and bluegrass, all involved African Americans. It wasn't something, and everybody knew it. I mean, players played together. It was just the narrative of this country that things are white and things are black.
yeah, yeah, and um, the migration of people from the deep South
Mm.
to Chicago and to other urban centers created this. Now we had music that was, founded in the agrarian,
Yes.
but now it became cityfied.
It got plugged in, as we say.
Right.
You know,
So
Muddy Waters put his amp on, plugged in that guitar, and there you go. The rest is history.
for anyone watching this, if you haven't ever watched footage of
Mm,
Muddy Waters, if you haven't watched footage, and there's so many, but Bessie Smith, you got to
yes.
watch it. If you haven't
Well, you
watched
can. I mean, we
it,
we live in a society where YouTube exists. You
It's
can just
amazing.
type their names in and take a look.
Yeah, yeah,
And you see how profoundly amazing and influential their music was.
right. So tell us about it's a girl thing, and for that you received a blues award, correct?
Yes, yes. The Keeping the Blues Alive Award from the Blues Foundation. Basically, it's a girl thing. It's what I did with a guy named Paul Fenton in Florida. And it was all about women in the blues because I love the blues, but the blues was represented by these guys in their overalls carrying their guitar on the train. But the first big stars of blues were women, Bessie Smith and Ma Rainey and Clara Smith, a lot of Smiths actually.
Yeah.
And these are the people I wanted to make sure that people knew existed and how influential their music and their lives were. So, and I'm still doing it.
Yeah. Well, and that website is what?
It's a girl thing.
It's a girl
Dot
thing.
org.
Yeah. And you go to that website and you can learn about all these women the women were the first to
They were
record.
the first.
Yeah.
Then they did not want to initially record Mamie Smith, who was recording Crazy Blues, which was the hugest hit. And it became a huge hit because people sold it out of their trunks. This sold thousands and thousands of records, but they didn't want to record it African American. But it started and ushered in the so-called race records.
Right. Right. The race records aimed at the white race,
There you go.
black race, and sold in furniture stores.
They sold it in the most incredible of places. But the key is they sold. The Bessie Smith was one of the wealthiest women in America, black or white. She bought a train car. She bought her own train car because the initial train cars were segregated. So
Hmm.
she said, I'm not going to do that. So she bought her own train car. But she died, unfortunately, because of our segregation here. They bypassed a white hospital after her car accident, and she had to go miles away to a Negro hospital. And by the time she got there, she passed.
Hmm. It's just a huge injustice and tragedy.
Yeah,
Senseless. Yeah.
senseless,
Yeah.
senseless. Many of the greats that we think are the greats, were victims. I think definitely victims of segregation back in the day.
Yeah.
Dinah Washington, Sammy Davis Jr., even Lena Horne,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, we hope it's a new day,
It's a
but
scary day.
it's a scary day, and
Yes.
we have to keep working on it.
Mhm.
So let's fast forward to you come to Common Ground on the Hill,
Mhm.
and you meet a lot of like friends, meaning people who are into the blues and all this
Yes.
traditional music. So describe for me, if you will, you took a class from Ira Zepp,
Yeah, my God.
and
My
and
God. Oh,
yeah, and your first thought was what?
what is this white man going to tell me about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X? I
Right.
was so arrogant, I remember, when I first started. And then that class changed my life. And my relationship later with Ira changed my life because I went from student to co-instructor at times with him. And it was and he was so pivotal in my walk,
Hmm.
my activism, my life, and my relationship with just white people.
He was a wonderful, wonderful. Well, it's hard to describe Ira
It
Zepp.
is hard to describe.
Um, we really miss him,
Yes.
and yet his lessons remain intact. And he came from poverty.
Yes, he did.
That was the key for
Yeah.
him. He came from poverty,
I
and he
think
was
we need to learn the compelling nature of poverty. The other side, which unfortunately I shouldn't call it that. I wish I could think of something else right now. But the other side is recognize there's a lot of pain and poverty, and is exploiting that pain. instead of using that commonality that we have to move forward. They're segregating us and separating us.
Yeah. Yeah. Haves and have-nots.
Yeah.
And, you know, one thing I remember at Common Ground is that we gave some scholarships to kids from Appalachia.
Mm.
And the girl came from, I think it was Southern Virginia, came with Don and Ellen Elms, as I remember. And she came up here and she was blown away by the fact that we were studying Appalachian traditions and honoring them and celebrating them.
Mhm.
And she had no idea that anything like that existed in terms of, you know, outside of her community. So that's the kind of thing that doing this kind of work can help with,
Exactly.
you know, to help with identity and pride.
It builds great pride.
Yeah.
I found it, I had a very similar experience when I first met Guy Davis and Sparky Rucker.
Mhm.
And both of them said, if I can do it, you can do it, you
Mm.
know, because I was deputy director of the ACLU doing my thing. And they just provided so much pride in the music. I learned so much from them. And I also took a songwriting class from Kim and Reggie Harris,
Mm.
which was pretty life changing. I got so much pride and just in who I was.
And before you knew it, you were teaching here.
And before I knew it, I was teaching
Right.
there.
So what happened to your during that time? And we're talking about we formed in 1995.
Mm.
So this is late 90s and into the 2000s. What was happening with you musically? Where were you singing? What were you doing?
Wow, I started at Common Ground, just getting involved in the music. But then I got involved with the music in Europe. And once I did one concert, I did two concerts, and I did 50. I toured all over Europe. I had a wonderful chance to sing African American music. I did gospel tours in Belgium and Scotland and all these wonderful places, and even Russia, even Siberia, which was a whole nother thing, through Professor Harry,
Professor Louis.
Professor Louis,
Yeah.
not Professor Longhair, okay,
Right. Right.
whoever, but
Right.
Professor Louis. He actually recommended me to the guy in Siberia. See how common ground is a thread that goes throughout my life.
Yeah.
And eventually we formatted a Umoja Musica, which we launched in Scotland, which was a lot of the Scottish musicians that I met at Common Ground, that we mixed our musics together, African American and Scottish music, and we came out with a wonderful CD. Do they still listen to CDs? I don't think so.
What's a CD?
It's exactly. That CD was called Umoja Gaelica,
Yeah.
and it was wonderful. It was
And what does that mean, Umoja Gaelica?
Umoja means unity in Swahili.
Mm-hmm.
Umoja is the first principle of Kwanzaa, which is an African American celebration of African Americanness after Christmas. And Gaelica just means the Gaelic traditions,
Mm-hmm.
all of the Celtic and Gaelic traditions, and the wonderful music. Means for me the alien pipes. I can hear Africa, and then the drumming, you can hear it. It has nothing to do with each other, but
Right.
these traditions have just blossomed all over the world. And we wanted to make sure that people saw the similarities in our music.
Well, I remember being with you in Scotland, and we were
Oh yeah,
at oh gosh, I'm forgetting the name of the
Alkin Cruise.
Auchengrove, right,
Yeah,
which is the home of Richard Oswald,
mm,
the major slave trader.
amazing.
And um, we sort of reconsecrated that little chapel there by singing gospel music
He sure did.
and being clear about this is what we were doing because he he uh, I believe was one of the major people involved in Bunsey Island,
Mm-hmm.
just where
Mm,
a lot of the transfers took place
mm-hmm.
coming from West Africa. Then they went to that island, and then they were separated out into other ships and
Right.
headed to the West. And so this was this Scottish guy
Amazing. He
who,
would, I think he would have he probably did turn around in his grave
yeah,
as I was standing in his house
yeah,
and we were singing African American music.
yeah.
You know,
And
it was an incredible moment.
it was
I'll
like,
never forget it.
what is it that the indigenous Americans do when they smoke
Mm,
uh,
yeah,
room?
peyote, right?
Yeah, cleanse it. So yeah, so it was that kind of thing. People reaching across, and um, so you did all that touring, huge amount of touring
Huge, huge amount.
in Africa as well, right?
Yeah, I went to the Congo and it was a heck of an experience. I realized how American I was when they
Hmm.
just kept saying, "Oh, Leah, she's the American. Hi, Leah. Oh, she's American." And also culturally, it's like a white Scottish person meeting a Polish person or a person from France. You share your skin color, but
Yeah,
culturally you share a
right.
different thing. But it was wonderful to be a place where everybody was black.
Mm,
It was amazing.
yeah,
Just to see that. It's still very much though, colonialism is very much an issue. But it
yeah.
was a wonderful experience.
It
I
seems to
never
me,
seen a mass like that in my life. It was great.
yeah. Well, and to be able to be on stage and give in that way. Wow.
It's amazing. But all of the Congolese, so many of them, we sang "Oh Happy Day." They don't
Mhm.
speak English, but they knew "Oh Happy Day."
Interesting.
They came up on stage and sang with me. It
Wow.
was so, I was like, oh yeah, these are my brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Because there you go, right there. Our
Yeah.
music has traveled all over the world.
Well, that's the thing that you get in touch with when you go back to Europe or to Africa.
Hmm.
I haven't been to Africa, but I would imagine it's the same kind of thing. So you realize that American music is great.
Oh yes,
It's you
yes,
know these other countries have not been. And by now, I guess with the internet and all that, things are cross fertilizing. But um, the American experience, which
it's
is
amazing.
yeah, it's
It's, in fact, on all of the radio, or a lot of the radio stations, especially in the Netherlands, I would hear American music more than any other music.
mm,
You know, and so it was nice to go places like Russia, and you know, Russia's a different land, a total different world. And here, indigenous musics, just because I like the experience, but I learned that our music, African American and African all American music,
yeah,
has just permeated the world.
absolutely.
We're such an, I mean, look at K-pop. K-pop is just like African American hip hop
Hmm.
with Koreans.
Yeah, yeah, and I find it interesting that things are so homogenous now.
Mm,
Oftentimes, people don't understand where it's coming from.
right. Yeah, I thought one of the most interesting things, and I adored Pete Seeger. When I, the opportunity to meet him, he sat down with me and my husband, and he just talked. He was like,
Mm,
"Oh God, I get to talk to regular people." That's
yeah,
what he said.
yeah.
But when I was in Europe and I was in France, I was doing a concert, and I was singing "We Shall Overcome,"
Hmm.
and you know, clap, clap, everything. And then somebody came to me and said, "Oh, that's the song written by Pete Seeger." I was just floored. I knew then that I needed to tell the story of where We Shall Overcome came from.
Yeah,
I think it's so important that there be people out there to not forget where these things come from.
right. It's very important.
It's very important.
And Pete would have been the first one to say I didn't.
Exactly. He was wonderful.
Yeah, it was appropriated for the movement, and sort of some of the words changed a bit.
It was I Shall Overcome.
Right.
That's how it was a spiritual, you know.
Well, see, now when you start saying we, you're doing that communist thing, you
Oh
know.
my God, hush your mouth. It's like we shall not be moved.
Right.
It started as I shall not be moved.
Not be moved.
I dare you say that we thing,
Right.
Walt Michael.
Yeah. Well, but when you think about it, the I thing is the most authentic because anytime throughout history people have stood up to injustice, it's been
Mm,
a singular event. It's a
mhm.
singular event for whoever is doing it at the time, you know.
And it was not easy.
No.
I mean, think about it. Think about all the things that you could lose just by saying, wait a minute, I'm a human. I'm a human being. It was at that point when these songs were written, and who knows who wrote them. I mean, cows and pigs and African Americans were all the same. It was all the same. But we moved, but somebody stood up and said, wait a minute, I shall not be moved. I'm going to get my freedom some kind of way, and I
Yeah.
shall not be moved.
Yesterday or the day before, I don't know when it was in terms of when we're recording here, but Willie Mays passed.
Yes, he did.
And I heard him interviewed, in an older interview. And they were asking him about suffering and encountering racism.
Hmm.
And guess where he said was the worst place?
Where?
Hagerstown, Maryland.
Ah, that
Not
doesn't shock me.
Birmingham,
That
not
doesn't
not
shock me.
Mississippi. It was there in Hagerstown. And then he related, he said, when I walked into that stadium, they called me every name. And it was
It's
very
so
clear.
it's such a testament to what this country. I love this country, but also I'm very critical of this country. It's like James Baldwin said, I love this country so much I reserve the right to be critical. Just
Right.
to paraphrase him. But the only place that I've ever been called the N word
Mhm.
was Boston.
In Boston. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I've been to Georgia, I've been to Alabama, I've been to South Carolina, I've been to Mississippi. It's scary places down there, but the only place that I actually literally been called the N word was there.
Well, he said by the end of the game, everybody loved him because he knocked it out of the park,
There you go. He
And
was given the opportunity to do so.
right,
What
right,
would have happened if he never had the opportunity?
right. Well, now I don't know if you're a baseball fan, but we now
No,
know.
Walt, not really.
Oh,
Okay.
really? Well, the greatest baseball player of all time. Um, I'm forgetting his last name now. It's Josh. I'm gonna have to Google this. Uh, Josh Gibson. He
Hmm.
was Satchel Paige's catcher.
Wow.
They have gone through the records in the Negro Leagues and found that he had the best batting average of all time,
He beat
surpassing
Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth, surpassing Ty Cobb,
Wow.
who was an avowed racist. So
Yeah,
it
I
was
know about Ty Cobb. Yeah.
Josh Gibson, and he had more home runs than anyone. Just an amazing. He's from Pittsburgh originally.
Hmm.
Uh, I know about him because my daughter did a research thing on him when she was in sixth grade. I didn't know anything about him.
That's very cool.
This has just come out in the
It's
last
you know,
month.
it's just like a microcosm of what has been happening in this world.
Yeah,
There's so many people. There's so many Jewish people, Native people, Asian people who have been done incredibly grand things, but we're
yeah,
just starting to hear about it.
yeah,
It's something we have to work towards. We
yeah.
can't just think it's going to happen. We have to
No,
work towards it.
but and you can. I know that I've been guilty of thinking, oh, we've done this. We're good. You know,
Yeah.
but then something happens again, and
No.
man, we got to
Right.
keep doing this. But
We have
so
to. Eternal vigilance is the price of liberty.
yeah,
And Thomas Jefferson, of all people, slave owning, Sally Hemings having,
right,
Thomas Jefferson said that, and it's the truth. Eternal vigilance is the price of liberty.
yeah,
We have to stay vigilant.
yeah,
It's so easy to be taken away.
yeah. it's and it's so important to continue to educate
Yes.
and to, to provide these things. That at Common Ground on the Hill, I mean, you're a perfect fit because your music can stand on its own. Doesn't You don't have to say a thing about it. It's right there. At the same time, you are ready for the narrative,
Yeah.
and that's what we do. That's what makes us different from the other camp.
Exactly. I've been to quite a few other
They're good,
um, camps, but the thing that separates Common Ground is that we talk about the tough things. We talk about the things that need to be discussed,
yeah,
but we also sing about it. We also make music. We also sing about the tough things in music. It's not an either or situation.
right,
It's all together.
right. It's it's important
Yeah.
to do that, and that's what I found, in founding Common Ground. That's what I was finding that was becoming to be missing in the music scene that I was part
Mhm.
of. That thing that was happening in the '60s was disappearing. Uh,
Oh,
in general, in terms of,
right.
okay, so we're playing a folk festival, but it's not like it was,
I always wonder about that. Like, what happened to those folks from the 1960s who were, the generation of inclusion and all
Right.
of us together, love and peace and music. You know, what happened?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. I think you could get a PhD trying to figure where did it go. So let's talk about what's happening with you musically now, and
Oh,
what
wow.
you're doing.
I
You're
no, I'm not doing it. What is so incredible is that I'm working at a church, Govin's Presbyterian Church, along with Maria, and
Mhm.
I'm one of the music directors there, and I'm also the minister from racial justice and multicultural engagement. So I get to do the best of both of my worlds. I'm so blessed and so honored. Unfortunately, I had a stroke a couple years ago, and I'm not the same vocally, but I'm starting to get it back, and I'm really looking, getting the opportunity to sing more. And we just did a huge Juneteenth concert with the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra at our church,
Mm.
and I had the opportunity to sing, and it was just incredibly exciting.
How did it go?
It went so well. It went
Wow.
so well.
Wow.
Because I had to say, "Come on, Leah, you can do it. You can do it."
Does that mean I can press you into service next week?
Oh no! Unless you want a really good baritone, that would be me.
There we go.
Okay.
Always need baritones. You never have enough baritone. Wow. So your work at the church,
Mhm.
what is it? What is it specifically? What do you do?
So it's kind of twofold. One is the racial justice and multicultural engagement, is that we talk about the tough things. We make sure that people are exposed to multiculturalism, exposed to opportunities to learn about what they perceive as the other, because we're not really the other. We're just all doing this human thing together. So we really get a chance to talk about it. And the wonderful thing is Maria Wong, who is one of the leaders at Common Ground. Maria, I don't know your title, but I know you're important. But she's also a member of Govin's Presbyterian Church, and she's also a member of our leadership for the racial justice and multicultural engagement work. And then part two is I get to program every week the music for the band. I lead the band, and we have a choir as well, which is much more classical. So I bring with me my traditions of gospel and folk and less Bachish music.
Right.
So we have a wonderful mixture of Bach, Beethoven, and Muddy Waters, and James Cleveland, all the good gospel people.
And you also do a thing on Monday nights, right?
Yes, we call it Music Monday, again with Maria. Maria and I love that girl. I love that woman. She's amazing. Maria and I we used to host it every week. Starting September, we're moving to once a month. and it's called Music Mondays, and we have a series of concerts every Monday. Now, once a month, every Monday, and we've hosted some amazing people and a lot of common ground folks,
Yeah,
including yourself.
I think I've been there.
That's right, you sure have.
Well, I think moving it to once a month is smart, and
Yeah,
yeah, I think what is upon us now um, is how to get people back in person with one
yes.
another, and to maybe make your Music Mondays in person at times.
I think that's what we're moving towards, especially as we move towards once a month.
Yeah,
We're moving to all of our our Juneteenth concert was so sold out. And Govans is not a big church.
right.
It is a big church, but it's not a big church. It's a mid-sized church. But we had from the rafters people everywhere in person. So we know that these in-person concerts, people are wanting that. So I think as we move towards Music Mondays, we're going to start doing it more in person.
Great. When you received the award on July 12th, no,
I'm
excuse
so,
me, on the 13th at the festival.
I get ready to say, I thought it was the 13th.
Yeah, it
I'm
is the
so
13th. I'm
excited.
sorry. I'm looking at when you receive it, the way things are looking now is that you'll receive that award at 6 o'clock. You will be preceded by Sparky and Rhonda Rucker, and
Ooh,
then Nicholas Carter.
come on.
Nicholas Carter, the great uh, Latino harp player.
Yeah.
And
I
then,
think he did a common ground.
yeah,
He was not common ground, a Music Monday.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and
He's a
he's
Music
phenomenal.
Monday. He's incredible. He's
And
cute too. Sorry.
you'll be followed by Guy Davis. So you're going to be
Oh,
embraced by
oh
all
my
these people
God.
who love you,
Oh.
and you will be among the greatest of greats. It's true.
I'm serious. I really am beyond honored. I mean, it's hard not to just burst out in tears because I can't believe it. It's such an immense honor to get recognized by your peers
Yeah.
and
Well,
for the work that you've done that you don't do for recognition. We do this work because we believe we're supposed to. And I'm
right.
a woman of faith. So I believe that God has led me in this life to do this work. And I'm not going to cry.
Sorry, you just did.
No.
So, Leo, we really look forward to seeing you, and we want everybody to be there in Alumni Hall at 6 o'clock on the
Be
13th.
there.
And there's going to be a swing dance, and Friday night. Let me tell you about what's going to happen Friday night. We have a whole
Tell me.
swing and jazz part for this Traditions Week. And
Really?
yeah, and we are going to do a second line after the concert on Friday night to celebrate the lives of all these people who have been part of our work and who have passed. So
Yes.
we are going to do a second line up to the Zepp Fountain,
I
and
think I'm going to have to be a part of that.
then we're going to dance.
Oh,
So
I'm
yeah,
going to try.
yeah.
I can move from side to side.
And we're going to ask people to carry, placards and signs of the
Mhm.
people who have left us, and we uh, we owe it to all those people. There's been so many
Yes.
people involved in
So
this,
many.
so many
So
people.
many.
Yeah, and we're not done.
Oh, honey, until the last breath is in our body, we're going to keep doing this.
That's
We're
right.
not done.
We're not done. Well, Leah, it's been as always, a pleasure. And we didn't talk about Sang Malay. We played music.
Oh, that's right. Right.
Sang
Right.
Malay,
Sing
you
Malay.
and Henry Reef and myself
That's right.
for a
The
number of
three of
years.
us.
We
Right.
were for hire.
And we were on fire too.
Yeah.
We were everywhere. I
Mm.
mean, we did a lot of schools, and it was a great time. We just did so many different types of concerts. I
We-
remember us at Center Stage in Baltimore. We did, we were there as well. Um, Sang Malay means mixed blood in French Creole.
yeah.
And it was such an honor to do that with you and Henry Reef, Dr. Henry Reef.
Right.
I was just some chick that joined, you know.
And no, you were the center, and Ira Zepp specifically asked for
Yeah,
us to play
you sure
in
did.
this memorial service. But another thing that we haven't talked about is the night that I was your escort when you sang for Muhammad Ali.
It blew my mind.
Tell us about that
Yes.
night.
You were my escort. You went with me and I'd say we were honoring Muhammad Ali. There was some kind of big service and they asked me to sing for Muhammad Ali, which is his song, The Greatest Love of All. And I sang with Muhammad Ali.
Yeah,
And one of the biggest honors in my life was him coming up to me saying, "Keep going, young lady." He shuffled over. He
yeah.
shuffled over, you know, and he whispered in my ear, "You better keep going, young lady." And I was like, "Oh my God, Muhammad Ali." And
Yeah.
I'm not a starstruck kind of person, but I was starstruck.
Oh, well, he was,
And I was honored that you experienced that with me.
well, I was
Really.
honored to be asked to go along. And to add a little levity to the whole thing, Dave Chappelle was on the bill as well.
Okay, he sure was. He sure was.
He's my
That
favorite.
was wild.
But it was at the national convention of the ACLU.
Yes, it was a national ACLU, and
Yeah.
it was the big Justice Award that they give out. And I think it was the second time they were giving it out, and they were giving it to Muhammad Ali.
Yeah,
And they asked me to sing. I will never, ever forget that. It was really an honor.
when he came from behind that curtain, it was as if a god walked in the room.
He was huge,
Yeah.
you know,
And he
not
was,
only in physically, but his presence.
yeah, he
He
was,
had
well, as he
such
used to
presence.
say, he was beautiful.
He was beautiful. He was
Beautiful.
absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
He
He,
was.
aren't I pretty? I don't know. He used to say, yeah, but that was what a moment. And I would never have seen Muhammad Ali without our friendship. And you got to answer those ads. You got to
There you go.
you got to answer the ad.
Well, now we all have, our phones and computers.
Yeah,
It was much more of a personal time back then.
right. It was.
So,
It
you
was.
know, and I couldn't believe this ad was what it said it was, and you were. So there you go.
I can't remember what I said in the ad, but
Me neither, but I liked it.
it was just a little one. I couldn't afford a big one.
Okay. Welcome to my life.
Yeah. Well, Leah, we will see you. And for people who want to meet Leah in person, again, that's July 13th at 6 o'clock
Mhm.
on the campus of McDaniel College. And also the concerts that week, July uh, July
12.
through the 12th, are all free, open to the public.
Right.
So come and see it all. Leah, we love you, and you know, get ready. The train's coming.
I'm ready. I'm going to get me a new outfit. I love you
Uh-oh.
too.
Uh-oh. I want to see
Just
that.
for you. Just for you. There you go. Thank you so much. God bless you. I am just deeply honored.
Well, we're lucky to have you on board.
Come see me, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.